Well, as you can see, the site that we have is very unique. It's a beautiful site with these marvelous views and good exposure to the sun to the south. So when you're presented with a site like this, you really want to take advantage of all of its natural attributes and the character. The other interesting thing about the site is it really has three distinct areas. The first along the water we're calling the bluffs, and that sits above the water by about 50 or 60 feet and gives marvelous views into the distance. And then the middle portion we're calling the meadows. It's a rolling area of farmland, and the back portion of the site is forested, so it's the woodland areas. So when we were looking at the site as a whole, we tried to incorporate these different characters into the siting of the homes and also the design of the homes. In addition, we were very, very aware and conscious that we didn't want to create a typical subdivision. We didn't want a series of repetitive homes with repetitive driveways off of a road that you could really see anywhere. That has no distinct sense of place. So we wanted to respond to the historical nature of the site. This was a farming community. We wanted it to have a kind of a rural nature because we wanted to encourage casual living, and we thought that people moving here would want that lifestyle. And so what we did in the siting of the homes was we grouped them into pairs, sharing a single driveway. So that reduced in half the number of driveways that would be off the road. The road itself is kind of a winding, almost a country-like road. And it has a country or a rural character. So it doesn't have curbs, it's got soft edges, it's like you'd find in a farming community. And the driveways themselves will be gravel, so it has a real casual quality about it. But what grouping the houses together allowed us to do was make sure that the sense of the land went between the groups of houses. So it looked like a series of farmhouses dotted across a meadow or a field, as opposed to a series of lots along a roadway. That's what we wanted to avoid. And then in order to get private space for a garden or to have your dog run around or whatever, we incorporated into the design of the house an outdoor area enclosed by a rural sort of fence, whether it's a picket fence or a split rail fence. So that gave you the kind of private space adjacent to your home without the need of actually fencing the entire property, which would go against our thought about creating this rural-looking community. So in a way, Seabright Farm doesn't look planned. That was the point. It looks like it was built over time, sort of ad hoc. It has an authenticity about it as a result. So that was one of the major, I think, turning points in the design, was the realization that we wanted to create this rural farm-like community to really pick up on the character of the land and take advantage of the views. And I think a lot of it was to respond to where the wooded areas were, where the views were. The other thing you'll notice is that we have these gaps, and the gaps in the siting of the homes is to allow for view corridors through to the ocean, so that everybody on the site gets this marvelous view. Even those that are at the back of the site, they don't have homes in front of them which are impeding the view out. We have a natural slope to the land as well, so we are looking over the roofs. But in addition to that, we're looking through buildings, through these view corridors. So that was one of the reasons for the siting in this way. We also have a number of natural features which we need to preserve, one of which is a wetland area, and which will provide a backdrop to some of the walking trails that make their way around the community. And then another really interesting and unique aspect of this community is that we've grouped together the amenity spaces. And the amenity spaces consist of a barn, community plots, because we have this whole idea of organic gardening, where everybody in the community can share in the communal garden. So a pool, a sauna, a hot tub, this is a place where the community gathers. And it looks a bit like an old farmstead. So again, it adds to that notion of authenticity of a place that was built over time and was always here. It gives people a great sense of connection. So it's not just any kind of place that could be anywhere, but it's unique to this land and to this location. One of the other things when I visited the site that I was really struck by was the quality of light. Because it's so open and because it's open to the south, you get this long light at the end of the day, which is a beautiful kind of a light. And it's the sort of light that makes people want to go outside and linger with a glass of wine or a cup of tea, watch the sunset. And so light was something that we wanted to make a feature in our designs. We wanted to make sure that all the homes were very well lit and that you could enjoy this wonderful sense of light that the site has. We have a number of designs. We have several different models, but there's a concept behind the design which is, I think, common to all of the models, and that is we wanted to build a series of small structures that were linked together in different ways as opposed to single large homes. And that was for a number of different reasons. One, we thought that the character of the land and what we were trying to create was better suited if we had smaller structures, not big mammoth structures. They should look more like farm structures or farmhouses. The other aspect that assists us in is we're able to build over time so that a person could buy a house, and then as their needs changed and as their family grew, they could add another small guest house or a garage with a living accommodation above. And those different components could be linked together in different ways so that although we had a limited number of designs, we had an infinite number of possibilities in how we could combine those designs. The other aspect that allowed us to exploit was the notion of outdoor living. So when we combine two structures like this, we link them together with a roof, and what you're left with is a covered outdoor space. And this speaks to the whole idea of outdoor living, because it is in a way a resort community. And so you want to get outside, you want to enjoy the marvelous views, you want to enjoy the weather, you're outside to eat meals or to relax, to enjoy a fire pit or something of that nature, so that all of the designs incorporate a lot of outdoor spaces, which are protected from sun and rain, but are open to the views and to the outdoor living environment. And the other thing it does is, you can see in the back here, by combining structures together, we create very interesting little outdoor areas which feel protected. They're like courtyards. And when you have a large rolling space, such as we do on our site, there is the need to have this sense of enclosure and privacy and intimacy adjacent to the living spaces inside. So by combining these different pavilions, if you will, in different formats, we create these outdoor spaces. So maybe there's a hot tub, or there's a vegetable garden, or a fire pit, or a place to view the water from. So all of these spaces become available to you when you combine forms like this. This also demonstrates what I was speaking about earlier, this notion of while your property may be quite large, we're only fencing a small portion of it adjacent to the house. The idea being that the areas between your house and your neighbor's house feel like open fields that come through, and this reinforces this sense of a rural community. Well, the Vista model here was designed specifically to be along the bluff. And you can see that we've taken great advantage of the views that will be offered to those properties. So there's a lot of outdoor living areas which take advantage of the view. For instance, the upper floor is the master suite, and it has its own private viewing deck, which is covered. Down below, we have this veranda which wraps around all of the living areas, providing opportunities for viewing out. And also this little space here, which we're calling the snug. And what that is a little built-in seat. So you can be out there even when the wind is blowing and when it's raining and feel quite secure and watch the storm pass. So it's all about windows and it's all about views. That's what the design of the Vista cottage is. But we have others as well. Again, responding to the different aspects of the site. For instance, in the meadow area, we have a number of homes which are more distinctly farmhouse style. So they're not quite as open, and the areas, the outdoor areas, feel more protected. In the back of the site, where we have the woods, we have a tower design. So we're actually building a higher house in that location. Actually, I think there is a picture here. So you can see that the very different designs, and what they're doing is responding to the different areas on the site. So the notion behind this house is it's meant to be at the back of the site. So I wanted to make sure that all the rooms got a view of the ocean. So we built it up higher, and we even have a tower. So this is almost like a tree house. And it's set into the trees with fantastic views of the ocean beyond. And again, I think a great sense of character. You know, one of the aspects of the design that we were, that we were very careful about was the interior. And I mean, conceptually, we wanted the interiors to feel authentic and rustic. So we're using a number of rustic materials, hardwood floors that have a certain aged quality about them, pebble glass. But really, it's all towards getting a feeling of casual living and a cottage style of living. And from a design point of view, I was very concerned that we have windows that offered a lot of light into the space and gave us access to the views to the property. And also this notion of indoor-outdoor, so that the interior of the rooms moved easily and effortlessly to the outside. So sometimes the outside materials kind of come into the house as well. And then we were also concerned to incorporate certain features which would kind of enhance this casual living, one of which are built-in seats and bay windows, you know, the kind of thing that you can imagine yourself sitting and curling up with a book and a cup of tea and being right next to the window and looking out. So we wanted to make sure that the interiors lent themselves to that casual style of living. You know, they're not formal or hard-edged. These are supposed to be places where you can go and really let your hair down, relax, and really enjoy the natural environment. So the interiors reflect that. Perfect. In this particular instance, the add-on that could come later in the project is a self-contained suite, but very small. So it's almost like a tiny cottage. In this instance, it contains a bedroom, a living area, a bathroom, and a small kitchenette. So it could be totally self-contained if there was, the parents or children wanted to be separate from the parents, or however that might work. This allows the house to function very easily for extended families or to entertain guests.
Okay. And for the outdoor?
One of the things we really wanted to encourage was this outdoor living. And in order to show people the potential for living outside, we needed not only to provide covered spaces, but real amenities that they could enjoy. So we're indicating things like fire pits or outdoor fireplaces, outdoor kitchens where you could prepare meals under cover, decks with built-in seating, all sorts of devices and elements in the home which encourage people to go out and live in these, what we're calling outdoor rooms.